Exposed my cheating girlfriend's lies and double life to everyone she knew during her birthday party, and now her world is crumbling. I 29 male caught my girlfriend 31 female cheating on me. This time, I have undeniable proof after she lied to my face about it. We've been friends for 5 years and started dating 3 years ago. I loved this woman with everything I had. I truly thought she felt the same. A few months ago, we hit a rough patch and argued a lot. I really thought we were going to break up. I hit rock bottom. I was severely depressed. One Saturday, we had plans to attend a wedding together. You live a fair distance away, and neither of us had a car, but we didn't mind taking the extra steps to make it work. That morning, I asked what time you'd be coming over so we could get ready and head out. I even offered to pay for your Uber. You said, okay. Hours went by. I didn't hear from you, and I started spiraling. I had a panic attack. I checked your location and it wasn't your house. It was some random parking lot. I messaged you. No reply. After a while, your location just turned off. I was worried sick. I kept calling. No answer for 6 hours. I was panicking. Then, at 9:30 p.m., note this time, you finally picked up. Your first words were, "Are you okay?" And I just broke down crying asking, "Are we okay?" You told me your phone died and that you were just out with your friends from school, and I believed you. You'd never lied to me before, so I thought. The next day, I couldn't even get out of bed. Depression hit me like a truck. You came over to comfort me. But something felt off. I tried to shake it off thinking maybe it was just in my head. The morning, I placed your Apple Watch on the charger. That's when I saw messages from you to your friend from school that you hung out with the day of the wedding. One said, "He was growling in my ear." Another said I had to cover up my hickeys like I was in school. Sent around 9:30, the exact time I was crying to you on the phone. When you got out of the bathroom, I saw the marks on your neck. When I asked, you said they were from scratching. On our way to work, I brought up the messages. You said you were lying to your friend. That you made it all up. I didn't believe you, but I swallowed it, and I swept it under the rug. Today, I was at your house as your family had a birthday party for you. Your family was there, some of your friends and our mutual friends too were there too. Including the one that celebrated you cheating and lying. The house was packed. I drank quite a bit because I knew I wasn't going to have the courage to do what I did. I went to your room to lie down in your bed, saying I didn't feel well. And after some time I told you I was going home and ordered an Uber. I'm in the Uber now typing this up, along with the iPad I gave you. While lying in your bed, I found it, and on it I didn't just find proof of you cheating, I found everything. The day you turned your location off, you were with the guy you play Call of Duty with. I'm mad at myself for not catching how often you played with him, and how you'd laugh at his jokes. I saw the messages, how you two talked for months, and how you planned a hotel meetup the day after he picked you up from work, how you kissed him in his car, how you told him we broke up, you sending a pic of the hickeys he gave you, and guess what, those messages. Sent at 9:45 p.m. the same time I was breaking down on the phone, and you were telling me everything was okay. How inconsiderate could you fucking be, hearing some you claimed you love cry on the phone, and while they are you're texting your school friend and him about your infidelity. Speaking of the school friend, I saw conversations celebrating your decision to cheat and laughing about how you got away with it, gassing each other up for lying to me. And there are more shit I found. I found flirty messages with multiple Uber drivers. I found out the ring you said was from your late grandmother was actually from your ex-boyfriend. You wore it our entire relationship. I found messages to him too telling him you were single. That you will always love him. I saw more messages with your Call of Duty duo with him saying very sexual things and you saying how nice that sounded. That was the same day I surprised you be coming over to your house for Thanksgiving. I found you sending sexy selfies to multiple men. Some of those pictures were from outing that we were out together. All this shit, and yet you talked about marrying me? You're a piece of shit. Normally, I'm not a petty person, but fuck it. By the time I press post, I will have already sent screenshots of everything to your friends, the ones who would be ashamed of you, to your family, the ones who would disown you, to your Call of Duty buddies, who knew nothing about your double life, to my family, to our friend group, and to the shitty school friend who knew everything, smiled at my face at the party and is still there thinking everything is great. Every person who ever believed in us will know the truth. Update 1. Something just clicked while I was going through those messages. For the first time, I truly realized I'm worthy of love and that the first person who needs to give that love to me is me. Out of all the options I had in that moment, the one I chose felt like the smartest. If I had confronted her in private, she could have manipulated the narrative or gaslit me into doubting what I saw. If I had gone downstairs and made a scene, I would have been surrounded by her family and friends, which would have turned into a screaming match where I'm outnumbered. So I removed myself from the situation and let the truth unravel on its own. Just to clear a few things up. We both had our locations shared on iPhone. I wasn't stalking her. The sexy photos weren't nudes. And even still, I didn't send those pictures out, only the text conversations between her and the guys she was messaging. Sending those to people is wrong on another level, and I would never stoop that low. After I left, I took an Uber home, grabbed a few things and went to stay at my friend's place for the night. I felt okay, but I thought that's just the adrenaline. 1 and 1 am going to crash hard. I've already signed up for therapy, scheduled an STI test, and I'm planning to take boxing and pottery classes just to keep myself active and focused. While I was staying over, one of her Call of Duty friends messaged me. Turns out the guy she slept with has a wife and kid. I'm not sure how that situation is unfolding, but I hope his wife finds out. That friend also told me she's been removed from their squad. Our mutual friend group has shown a lot of support. One of them even removed her as a bridesmaid from their upcoming wedding, and blocked her entirely. I thought everything had finally calmed down until I came back home this morning. I had already blocked her on everything, so there was no way for her to reach me. Instead, she showed up. She drove her parents' car to my house and sat outside until she saw me. As I walked to my door, she came out crying hysterical, a messy mix of sadness and rage. I didn't say a word. Just walked inside and closed the door while she yelled from the other side until she eventually left. Nothing was mentioned about the Reddit post, so I guess she didn't see it. Later that day, her brother called me. He apologized on behalf of the family. He said everything seemed normal after I left until their mom checked her phone. She pulled my ex aside, trying to keep things quiet. But then her aunt, the one who talks a lot, shouted, "You're cheating on your boyfriend." In front of everyone. That blew the lid off. According to him, their family has a history with infidelity, and it caused serious pain in the past. So this incident not only reopened old wounds but more cheating scandals within the family were exposed that same night. This party was supposed to be a reconciliation moment for relatives who hadn't seen each other in years. And the friend who celebrated the cheating with her? She got cussed out so badly by the family that she left in tears. Her brother told me he doesn't blame me for anything. He even said I handled it better than most would have, and he's here if I need anything. Honestly, the only thing I feel bad about is unintentionally ripping apart a family that was trying to move forward. Update 2. Mentally, I've been doing okay. I'd be lying if I said this hasn't been hard. It has. Some days are better than others. Part of me still have the urge to unblock her, just to see what she might say, but I haven't and I won't. One quote I saw on Twitter has been helping me stay grounded. It said, "Because no amount of I love you can erase the fact that you looked at my worth, weighed it against your urge, and picked the urge." I made that quote my phone's lock screen. It's a constant reminder not to give in. On the health front, I'm clean so far, thankfully. I'm staying cautious and plan to continue regular checkups just to be safe. I'm also currently looking to move. I don't want to risk her showing up at my place again. Therapy's been going great. Pottery, though, I suck horribly but will still continue to go. I still carry some guilt about what happened with her family. I know I didn't cause the fractures, but I lit the match that exposed all of it. According to one of her friends, she's aware of the post. That same friend messaged me calling me a D, claiming this was an invasion of privacy and that I should have talked to her one-on-one instead of going public. Update 3. I didn't unblock you. I didn't cave. But the fallout found me anyway, in ways I didn't expect and in some I should have. 2 mornings ago, my phone buzzed with a number I didn't recognize. It was early, like 7:12 a.m. early, and my first thought was work. I picked up half asleep and a woman's voice said my name like a question. She introduced herself calmly, too calmly for what was coming. She's his wife. The Call of Duty guy. She'd gotten my number from a mutual we both didn't know we had. I pressed my forehead to the window and just listened. She didn't yell. She asked me to tell her, plainly, just the facts. The dates. The hotel. The times. I told her what I saw on the iPad and when. The 9:45 p.m. messages. The kiss in the car, the hotel the next day after he picked you up from work. Her breathing didn't change. She asked, "Was it the courtyard off Route 13? I said yes, and she let out one short sound, like someone finally finding what their fingers were already on. She'd been there last month for a work conference. He'd said he was at the gym. She told me she had screenshots of his location history, a loyalty points email confirming a stay, and a charge he lied about with a fake receipt he found on Google Images. I needed to hear it from someone who didn't know me anything," she said. "Thank you." Before she hung up, she told me she has a 2-year-old and a baby due in September. Her voice finally cracked on that. I sat there with my phone in my hand until the screen went black and my reflection looked like a stranger's. I went to the kitchen, poured water I didn't drink and waited for the crash that didn't come. I made a note in my phone of everything I told her in case my mind tries to rewrite it later. I don't know why, but that helped. Around lunchtime, there was an envelope wedged under my door. No name on the front, just my address in your handwriting. Inside was the ring, the one you told me was your late grandmother's and then your ex-boyfriend's. It sat in my palm like a dare. Wrapped around it was a thin folded note that started with "Please." You said you're sorry. You said you made a mistake, then corrected it to a series of mistakes, then wrote it again like you were trying to convince yourself. You called me by the nickname you used to use and said you can't breathe without me. You said you've barely slept. You said you're late. That line was alone on a separate line, underlined twice. No details. No proof. Just those words. The rest of the letter turned into something I recognized too well. You asked for 10 minutes. You promised you'd tell me everything. You said if I didn't pick up you would do something stupid. That last sentence made my hands go cold. I didn't call you. I texted your brother. I told him there was a note and I was worried. He responded fast, said he was already on his way to your place because you had told your mom you felt like you were spinning. He told me he'd update me. An hour later, he texted that you were okay physically. He said the late thing might be true or it might be another fire you were setting to get warmth from. He didn't know. He told me not to meet you alone and I told him I wouldn't. I slid the ring and the letter into a Ziploc and put it on the top shelf of my closet so I wouldn't see it every time I opened the door. That same evening, 2 officers knocked on my door for a welfare check, except it wasn't for me. They were there because someone, your mom, the brother, I don't know, had asked them to check on the situation and advised me to refrain from contact until things settled. It was awkward and decent and unnecessary and also, weirdly, comforting. I told them I had blocked you and that you had left a letter. They nodded like they hear this sort of sentence every day. One of them gave me a card and told me about a civil standby if I had to exchange property. I asked if returning the iPad qualified and he said yes. He suggested I do it at the station lobby. I said okay. We set it up the next day for 3 p.m. I brought the iPad in a plain tote bag with a sticky note that had the passcode because it's still tied to your Apple ID and I didn't want to mess with that. You walked in wearing the sweater I used to fall asleep on. You scanned the room and your eyes locked on me like I was a rope you wanted to grab and drag yourself out with. You started toward me and one of the officers very gently put his hand up like, nope. You said my name in that tiny voice. I took the iPad out, handed it to the officer who handed it to you, like we were in elementary school trading pencils through a teacher. You asked for 5 minutes. I shook my head. You tried 3. I shook my head again. You stared at me like I was a stranger wearing my face. Then you asked if I had read your letter. I told you your brother knows about it and I'm glad you're safe. You said I'm late, out loud this time. I said if that's true you should see a doctor and talk to the father. Your eyes flashed and for a second the tiny voice dropped. You are the father, you said, like a script. The officer cleared his throat. I told you I haven't touched you since before the wedding date, and you know that. You looked down. You took the iPad and left. You cried as you walked and then you were gone and the automatic doors slid shut slow like a curtain. I went straight from the station to sign a lease. I found a small place last week, a studio with a sliver of city view if I lean out the window and squint. It smells like new paint and the last tenant's vanilla cleaner. There's a faint hum from the elevator shaft that reminds me of the white noise machine my mom used to put on when I couldn't sleep as a kid. The landlord is a woman with sharp eyeliner and softer eyes who told me about the coffee shop downstairs that opens at 6 a.m. She let me sign early because she had a dropout yesterday. I took that as a good sign even if I don't believe in those. Moving was quieter than I thought it would be. I kept waiting for the ache to hit, but it was like my body had decided to store it somewhere else for now. My friend Eddie helped me carry boxes up the 3 flights because the elevator is older than both of us and likes to take breaks. We ordered pizza and ate off cardboard because I hadn't bought plates yet. It felt like college if college had rent that made your stomach clench. I put the first bowl I ruined in pottery on the windowsill. It has this lopsided lip that caves in on one side like it's listening. I like it. The next morning, I went boxing. I didn't plan to, I just woke up at 5:30 a.m., thought about sitting in the new place alone, and couldn't. The gym smelled like disinfectant and rubber and loud music trying too hard to wake me up. The trainer wrapped my hands and kept telling me to drop my shoulders. You're trying to wear them like earrings, he joked. I hit the heavy bag and every time my fist landed, a picture flashed in my head, your car in my driveway, the iPad bright in the dark room, 9:45 on the clock. I thought I would cry. I didn't, I just kept breathing, in for 4, out for 6, until my arms shook and my breath felt bigger than my chest. On the way out I ran into a guy from class who recognized me from the building. He asked if I'm the guy who makes ugly bowls with Ms. Linda on Tuesdays. I told him yes. He said she's been saving a wheel for me because I sent her like a drunk and needs fixing. I laughed. It felt weird and good in my mouth. Work tried to get involved without getting involved. HR called me into a conference room and said they had received concerns about a public situation. I asked if concerns meant accusations, and the HR woman did that pressed lips thing they teach in seminars. They reminded me of social media policies and I told them there were no images shared and that my personal life was on my personal time. My manager, who has a teenage daughter, slid me a water bottle and said take the rest of the day. I took it. I went to the coffee shop downstairs and the barista spelled my name wrong and it was perfect. Then the ex-boyfriend called. The ring ex. He found me through your brother. He started by apologizing like we were standing on an apology assembly line. He told me he had bought that ring at a pawn shop 5 years ago when you broke up for the first time, because you said your family wouldn't accept anything less than with history. He said he could hear my disbelief through the phone and he couldn't blame me. He told me he had messages from you from 2 weeks ago where you called him your constant, swore you were single, and asked him if he thought the ring looked better on your pointer finger. He sent them to me. They were in the same tone as the messages to the Call of Duty guy, just with different inside jokes. Same half-laugh punctuation. Same words, swapped names. It made my stomach drop and also settle, if that makes sense. I wasn't special in the way I thought I was, but I wasn't special in being fooled either. That felt like a release. That night, the wife called again. She said she had confronted him. He said you were lying, then he said I was lying, Then he said everyone was lying but him. She said she took her kid to her sister's and turned her phone off for 3 hours just to hear silence. She told me she's not asking me for anything else and I should do the same. Stop trying to make sense out of nonsense. You can't reconcile fiction with truth, she said. She sounded older than me and younger than all of this. I told her I'm sorry for what I sent into her life even if I didn't throw the first match. She said I didn't. They did, she said. They always do. Today, your mom called me from a blocked number and left a voicemail that was 1 minute and 38 seconds long. She cried for a good half of it. The other half she spent asking me, like I'm the one issuing lives out of a window, to give you another chance. She said this isn't you. She said the family history you got born into is a machine and you were raised inside of it. She said she knows what it does to a girl. She also said she doesn't expect an answer. I haven't called back. I don't plan to. I saved the voicemail in case anyone tries to tell me later that I imagined it when my brain tries to make me softer than I can afford to be. Later in the afternoon, you showed up at my work building lobby. I saw you through the glass doors like a movie shot you wish would cut before someone you love walks in. Security called up. I asked them to ask you to leave. You didn't. You sat on the bench like a statue who had been forgotten by the museum. The security guard told me you'd said you'd wait all day. I took the back exit and walked around the block twice. When I came back, you were still there. I sent your brother a message and he came and got you. He texted me a single word after, handled. I don't know what that means in the long term, but in that moment it meant I could breathe again. I'm not naive. I know this isn't over for you just because it's over for me. And if you're late, I know what that could mean in real life with real lives. If that turns out to be true, I hope you tell the right person. If you try to tell me it's me, I have dates and math and my own memory like steel doors. I'm not opening them. Therapy today was different. My therapist asked me to bring something that represents what I can control. I brought the ugly bowl. She asked me to explain it. I told her it was supposed to be something else and then my hands shook and then the whole thing collapsed, but I didn't throw it away. I just smoothed the edges and fired it anyway. She smiled and said, "That'll do. I know people will read too much into the pottery metaphors, but screw it, they fit. Clay remembers where you push it. It keeps your fingerprints forever if you let it. I don't want to be shaped by this in a way I can't recognize. I want to be something I chose even if my lip is lopsided. I want to be fired and done. Not cracking under a fingernail for the next person who touches me." Tonight I went back to the gym. I could have gone home. I could have taken a hot shower and scrolled until my thumb went numb. Instead, I laced up, put my phone on Do Not Disturb, and hit that bag until a kid half my size told me I was hogging it. I laughed and moved over. On my way out, Ms. Linda texted me a photo of a perfectly centered bowl with a note that said, "See? It's possible." I put my phone away without making it a sign. I took the stairs to my new place, unlocked the door, and stood in the doorway for a second just to feel what it's like to walk into a room that's mine and only mine. I can breathe here. That's new. That's enough for tonight. Update 4. I thought maybe the quiet would hold if I treated it gently, like a glass I didn't put too close to the edge. It didn't. It never does in real life. The knock at my door came at 8:06 a.m. on a Thursday that smelled like rain before it happens. I opened it in socks with toothpaste still on my tongue and a man in a windbreaker asked for me by my full name and then used the word, "Served." Temporary restraining order hearing. Your name at the top, like a header I used to love getting in my inbox. The box you checked said harassment. It listed public humiliation, distribution of private messages, and continued emotional distress. The date was set for the following Tuesday at 9 a.m. I stood there with the envelope and the windbreaker man said, "You're not the first one before breakfast," and walked away. I called a friend who became a lawyer before the rest of us became boring. He told me to breathe, show up, bring what I have, stick to facts, do not let my mouth outrun my brain. He said judges care about what's in front of them, not the whole movie. I gathered what in front of them looked like in a pile on my kitchen table: the welfare check card, the civil standby slip, the text to your brother about the letter, the date stamps, my lease, the email from HR with the subject reminder, personal, social media use. I printed the messages where you asked to meet, where you showed up at my work lobby, the note you left without a return address. I put the ring in the Ziploc back on the top shelf. I told myself it didn't belong in court and it didn't belong anywhere near me either. The courthouse was colder than it needed to be. The benches made everyone look meek. I watched a couple whisper fight 3 rows up about a dog. At 9:12 they called our names. You walked in with your mom in a blouse I'd seen you borrow before. You wouldn't look at me at first and then you did like you'd forgotten what my face does when it's waiting for something. The judge was a woman with a voice like a teacher who's done this 30 years and no longer raises it for anyone. She asked you to speak. You started with how you feel. The judge stopped you after 2 sentences and asked for dates and times. You said the day I sent the screenshots. You said the lobby. You said the station exchange. You said pregnant like it was a golden ticket. The judge didn't flinch at that word or any of them. She asked if I had contacted you since the station. I said no. I gave her my phone, the call log with 0 outgoing to your number, the blocks, the messages to your brother asking for welfare checks. She looked at the printouts for longer than I expected someone in a robe would. She asked you if you had any evidence I'd contacted you after you asked me not to. You said he contacted people. The judge reminded you those people were not you. She asked me if I wanted my own order. I said yes. She stared long enough to make my palms sweat and then granted mine and denied yours. 12 months, no contact, no coming to my work, no coming to my apartment, no leaving letters, no proxy contact. She looked at me when she said, "This goes both ways," and I nodded like I could bob my head into safety. Your mom waited for me in the hallway like a badly placed statue. She said my name like it tasted different now. She started to cry and then swallowed it. She whispered that you'd had a scare. She used the word scare like it had teeth. She said she'd taken you to a clinic and they'd told you what your body already knew. Not pregnant. She asked me not to hate you for the way the fear turned into a weapon in your hands. I told her I didn't need a reason to not go back. She nodded. We stood there with our palms empty and then we didn't. We walked away. I took my paper with the stamp, the one that makes words into rules, and gave a copy to my building manager who adjusted her eyeliner in the reflection of the plastic laminate and said she'd add your name to the do not enter list. I emailed HR with a copy too because I didn't want the lobby to become an after-school special again. My manager replied with a neutral sentence that felt kinder than a hug. The rest of the day I worked like my keyboard could erase my name from your horizon. That night the wife called again. Not to ask, just to tell me. She had moved out for now. She'd spent 2 days with her sister and a lawyer. She said he had 3 different stories in the space of an hour and none of them survived sunlight. She said he told her he slept in his car, then his friend's couch, then nowhere because nothing happened. She said she'd found a second loyalty email and a sock that didn't belong to their house under the passenger seat. She said she had screenshots I hadn't seen of you on FaceTime in a bathroom with a beige tile that matched the courtyard off Route 13. She said, "Thank you," without making it a confession. She said if anyone contacted me, to send it to her and then the lawyer. I told her I would. She asked me what pottery taught me this week. I told her that what falls off the wheel can't always be rescued by more water. She laughed, a real small one, and said that would look nice cross-stitched in an aunt's living room. Then she said good night and meant it. 2 days later at 6:03 a.m. I was carrying a cardboard box with a coffee mug and a single spider plant down the stairs because the elevator decided it was Monday on a Friday, and when I hit the second floor landing, a man with a shaved head and a hoodie I recognized from a gamertag profile picture stepped in front of me like bad timing had a face. He introduced himself with his screen name like that made him bigger. I set the box down. He asked me if I thought I did something brave. He said I messed up his whole situation. He said the word situation like it owed him money. My hands went cold first and then hot. I watched his jaw like a metronome. I told him to step away from my door and that there is a protective order in place and there is a camera in the hallway. He took 1 step forward, not back. I didn't move. The neighbor from 2C, older guy with a white t-shirt he always tucks into his sweatpants and a small dog that thinks it's a lion, opened his door, took in the scene and said, loudly, "Morning, champ," to no one in particular. The guy in the hoodie flicked his eyes to the dog, to the ceiling camera he hadn't noticed, to me. He said something about me hiding behind paper. He said something about me being soft. It was a good thing I'd boxed that morning because my shoulders wanted my ears again. I told him to leave or I'd call the police. He left. He told me I was nothing as he walked away because people always want the last word even if it's a leftover. I put the box down inside my door and my hands shook without asking me for permission. I called the wife and told her he just violated a building rule and probably his own good sense. She said she'd tell her lawyer. I wrote it down with the time like someone old-fashioned taking the temperature of the day. The craft fair Ms. Linda had been bullying me into happened on a Saturday that looked like it was borrowed from a postcard. Blue sky, kids with sticky hands, someone playing a cover of a song that made a couple in their 60s dance like no one was looking even though everyone was. I set out my crooked bowls and named the one I hated the most first draft because it sounded generous. People touched the rims and smiled like you do when you recognize the shape something was trying to be. A little girl with pink clips shaped like strawberries picked up the lopsided one that lives on my windowsill in my head and said, "It looks like the moon when it's tired." Her mother laughed and pulled out a $5 bill. I told her it cost 10, mostly because I wanted to know if anyone would hand me a 10 for something that had been a ruin for 2 weeks on my table. She handed me a 20. "Keep the change," she said, "for more clay." I don't know how to explain what that did to me except it felt like oxygen had texture. After the fair, Ms. Linda made all of us gather around the raku kiln like it was a bonfire from a story. She pulled pieces out with tongs and the air hit them and the glazes crackled into galaxies. Mine cracked in a way that made half the class do that sympathetic inhale people do at sports injuries, and Ms. Linda didn't flinch. She said sometimes the fire finds the weak place you already knew was there and makes it true. "You can fix it with gold," someone said, and Ms. Linda rolled her eyes and said, lovingly, that we do not gild our wounds here, we learn from them and try again. I like that better. The crack stays. It doesn't ruin it. It turns it into itself. I thought that would be the thing for the week and then the envelope slid under my door again, but this time it was from a law office with embossed lettering. That tried too hard. A demand letter using words like defamation and cease and desist and irreparable harm, as if my phone's notes app had teeth. My lawyer friend read it on my couch with a bowl of microwave popcorn and said it was a scarecrow built by someone who knows how to invoice. He wrote a reply that said truth is a defense, there were no images shared, only messages, and that any further contact should go through him unless they want to converse with the judge who signed the paper, with both our names on it. He hit send. We turned on the game. My friend asked me if I could sit through the whole first quarter without checking my phone. I could. That felt like a better win than whatever the score was. The wedding I thought I wouldn't go to and then did was smaller than planned after the bridesmaid list got shorter. I wore the suit I used to keep at your place because I never trusted myself to remember it day of. I stood in the back for the ceremony because it felt safer to be near an exit. When the vows started, I didn't break. I thought I might. When the couple said, "I choose you," I kept my eyes on the way the bride's father was holding his wife's hand, thumb moving back and forth like a metronome for her breathing. After the kiss, the DJ played the wrong song, some early 2000s pop ballad that didn't belong, but everyone laughed and kept walking, and that felt like a sign I decided to let be just a coincidence. I danced with a grandmother who told me I led like a man who learned yesterday and then winked and told me that was not an insult. At the end of the night, the bride hugged me hard and whispered in my neck that she was glad I didn't disappear. I told her I was, too. On the way out of the venue, under that string of lights every wedding has now, a car idled by the curb with a familiar silhouette in the passenger seat. Your brother's truck. He got out alone and handed me a small bag with 3 things I didn't know I'd been waiting to feel rid of: the hoodie I thought I lost, a paperback I'd made you promise not to dog-ear, and the Tupperware lid that goes with the orphan bottom in my cabinet. He said, "That's everything I found that looked like you." He said you started therapy. He said you moved in with your aunt for a bit to get space. He didn't ask for forgiveness on your behalf. He didn't make me responsible for any of it. He just said he was trying to keep the ground from shaking for everyone. I told him, thank you, and meant it in more directions than just his. The next morning, a text from a number I didn't have saved lit up the screen while I was lacing my shoes. It was the Ring ex. One line. "They're saying you hit her." Every muscle in my neck stood up at the same time. I typed nothing. I called my lawyer friend who said gossip is a hydra and you don't feed it. I told the wife because patterns like this sometimes need timelines for someone else's courtroom. I went to the gym and hit the bag like it owed me rent until my trainer tapped my glove and told me to breathe because my hands were starting to forget they had bones. At work, a coworker I sit 2 seats away from slid me a bag of pretzels and a note that just said here. No questions. No, you okay? Which can sometimes feel like a demand. Just here. I ate the pretzels. They tasted like something boring and reliable and it made me want to cry a little in the best way. I keep thinking I'm going to wake up and find out this part is over, like someone will wheel a cart through the hall and call clear. And the scene will change. It doesn't. It's a series of small things I have to do without making them a movie. Today it was taking the ugly bowl off the windowsill and putting it in the cabinet with the plates I finally bought. Tomorrow it will be the same coffee shop at 6 a.m., the same barista spelling my name wrong in a new way, the same walk to the train where the guy with the newspaper folds it into a triangle like origami every single time. The difference is my breath. It's not a gasp anymore. It's not a performance. It's a thing I do without inviting it. If there's another envelope, I'll open it. If there's a knock, I'll look through the peephole first. If there's a day where my hands shake again on the second floor landing, I'll call someone before I sit down on the floor and pretend to tie my shoe. The order has my name and yours and the judge's on it, and it's a boundary I didn't know how to hold before someone printed it for me. Pottery taught me to center with my elbows tucked. Boxing taught me to drop my shoulders. Therapy taught me that both are just a way of saying the same thing. I can keep my own shape. I can come home to a room that is mine and only mine and turn the light on and it doesn't have to mean anything except that the dark has an off switch. Tonight I flipped it and slept. That's new. That's enough.